It's time for the Ron and Brian Podcast. Get ready to fill your ears with the latest news, politics, current events, and whatever else we feel like talking about this week. And now, your hosts, Ron and Brian.
And good evening, everybody. It is Sunday night. It is 8 o'clock. It is time for episode 227 of the Ron and Brian Podcast. I am joined by Brian, also known as
the most devious bastard in New York City.
Brian, how goes it tonight, sir?
Well, it was going fine until you just insulted me like that.
That was Matt's sound effect, so you may need to have a conversation with him.
I believe it's the cocaine. I mean, clearly the cocaine is getting to Matt. His voracious appetite for more and more illicit substances is clearly affecting his judgment. And I believe it's hurting the overall quality of the show that you and I work so hard week in and week out to do. Ron, if I may ask you,
yes.
How are you doing?
I'm all right. I'm hanging in there. It's a beautiful fall weekend here in the Northeast, ready for another work week, but more importantly, ready to put out an amazing hour of podcasting entertainment with you, my love, my friend.
You are my foundation. You are my foundation. Speaking, before we go there,
okay.
Are you ready for the MLB playoff season?
Oh, I am ready, my friend. Yankees, Guardians, starting tomorrow night, is it?
The last I saw, they had not announced it. I'm going to look it up right now because my plans for tomorrow, my plans Tuesday night are radically changed depending on, it is still TBD. But at least we know it's not, the 1 o'clock game is the Phillies and the Braves.
Correct.
So at least we know it's not going to be the early game, but who knows? I would hate to see the Yankees not playing in prime time, giving me an opportunity to go celebrate. Speaking of which, Padres jumped to a 2-0 lead over the Mets at the end of 3.
Wah, wah. Yeah, you got to think the Dodgers are going to get the late game on Tuesday, being out on the West Coast. So we'll see.
Get like the 10 o'clock game.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think, Astros-Mariners, not as sexy a matchup as Yankees-Guardians. My personal opinion.
You know what is sexy?
What is sexy, Brian?
Drink of the week.
Oh, it most certainly is.
Drink of the week.
Na zdrowie.
Salud. Drink of the week.
Pleasure.
Pause. Drink of the week. Drink of the week. Drink of the week. Drink of the
Brian, week. What are you drinking this week?
Ron, this week I go all the way to the great state of Montana. Not normally known for its breweries, its beer, but the good people over at Lagunitas putting out an ale called A Little Something. A Little Something. Normally I don't go for the IPAs, but I love a good Montananian beer.
Let's go with that.
Montanian. Anywho, let's take a look at this. You're looking at a smooth and silky IPA, a certain thing that they call a weedy-esque-ishness, a little something, truly a unique style. Coming in with 50% wheat, 50% barley, 100% delicious hoppiness, hints of bubblegum, pineapple, light cedar and pine, tons of tropical fruitiness with none of the fruit. That just sounds like most breakfast cereals. With a 7.5 ABV, an IBU of only 52, Lagunitas, a little something, my drink of the week.
I mean, it is good. The description of it, I don't know that I've ever tasted bubblegum in the Lagunitas little something. Do you?
There's something sweet in there.
Okay. Oh, I thought it was you, Brian.
Oh, this is a damn good beer.
All right. As long as you enjoy it. That's
this
what
is
matters.
A damn good beer.
All right.
Yes.
Good.
Ron?
Yes, sir.
What have you brought to drink tonight?
As you know, basic white boy fall continues, bringing another pumpkin beer. I actually did the cold brew version of this a few weeks back. I don't think I've done this version on the main podcast, but of course it's our good friends at Southern Tier. It is their pumpkin ale that they put in nitro and put it in cans this year. The cold brew was fantastic, so I'm assuming this will be as good. Brewed again in Lakewood, New York. Southern Tier clocking in at a solid 8.6%. Look at the creamy head on that. Doesn't that just look inviting and delicious, Brian?
Absolutely. Take a deep sip. What I love is that you've told me what nitro means probably a dozen times in the past 4 years.
Yeah.
Still to this day, I do not know what pumpkin nitro means. And don't explain it anymore. I'm not going to remember.
No, I
but
won't.
tell me a little bit about pumpkin nitro.
So I mean, the pumpkin is a classic imperial pumpkin ale. It's got the spices, the clove, delicious flavor, and then you add the creamy texture you get from the nitro, and it's just a solid fall beer. That's all I can say.
Now I have a question. At what point are you going to start wearing riding boots with tight blue jeans tucked inside of it while wearing a white turtleneck with a tan leather jacket over it, maybe a scarf and a big hat?
I would wear a beanie with that. So I'm just waiting for the wool knit beanie to come from the village in Indonesia that I've ordered it from.
Understood.
And once I complete the outfit, then maybe I debut it right here on the podcast.
Smart. Have you started to grow the very thin porn stash that you'll be spinning on this side?
You can see, I didn't shave today, so I'm I've kind of letting it grow in, and then I can just design it as needed.
Ron, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you normally shave on the weekends, or do you take the weekends off?
I rarely shave unless I'm leaving the house at this point. If I don't have like a Zoom call, like I'll shave maybe 2 or 3 times during the week, but not on the weekends. Never on the weekends.
How many days a week are you going to work?
No, I'm physically going somewhere.
How many days are you leaving the house to go to work?
2 to 3 times a week. A lot of times I am doing stuff virtually because it's easier to, with the way my hotels are spread out, it's just easier to do things virtually rather than killing time driving between hotel to hotel to hotel.
So what you're saying is it's a lot easier for your spirit to be disappointed by your underlings over video conference rather than face to face.
I'm never disappointed, Brian. All right. Let's move on. It's time for Beef of the Week.
Ron and Brian's Beef of the Week.
So, Brian, what's bothering you this week?
First off, I just finished off a bottle of Gentleman Jack. Look at that. Empty.
Wow.
Just empty. Nothing in here. That's my beef of the week. Just kidding, people. Ron, have you ever had a week where, you spent all Sunday trying to think about what was really bothering you? What was worthy of sharing with the world a grievance? And you struggled all Sunday long because you had a pretty good week. Your work went well.
Right.
Your relationship's going well.
Good.
Your social life, you did a bunch of good things, all well, and you just couldn't come up with a beef of the week. And then as you're preparing for the podcast, you put your television on just for some background noise.
Right.
And you land on your beef of the week.
Oh, I mean, I haven't had that happen, but it sounds like that's what happened to you, sir.
All right. I put on 60 Minutes not that long ago.
Okay.
And they had a segment on Sanibel Island in Florida.
Yes.
They were talking to some of the residents who had their homes completely wiped out. And were the number of times I heard the phrase, "Can you believe this? Something like this could never happen here. I'm shocked." By different people, various, variations and whatnot.
Right.
And I found myself screaming at the TV, "You moved to Florida. Florida is a magnet for hurricanes. It is surrounded by some of the hottest water in America. The jet stream Gulfstream, Jetstream, coming off the African coast.
Okay.
Is it?
I have no idea.
Is it the Jetstream or the Gulfstream?
I think it's the Gulf Stream. I think the jet stream is for when you're flying in a plane, isn't it? I mean, again, you're talking to two very uneducated people here, so it's
That's not true. We both have college degrees. We're each rocking a 4-year bachelor's, albeit yours was in English, so that's.
Was yours a
but
4-year degree?
I earned a bachelor's, if that's what you're implying. I have a bachelor's degree.
No, the question was more the length of time. Was it a 4-year degree or was it a 4+? Is there an asterisk there?
Ron, time is a human construct. What does it actually mean?
Sorry.
What does time mean? So my beef of the week, yes. So it was the story that 60 Minutes was pumping, talking to people who had their homes just absolutely devastated, completely wiped out, block after block of Fort Myers, Sanibel Island, just devastated homes, nearly wiped out. And the story was basically, first off, feel bad for these people. Let's tag along, have them tell us, what it was like growing up here and raising their children, blah, blah, blah. And then they start talking to an insurance executive from Florida who says that most of these homes are not going to be covered from the damage because it is almost financially unfeasible to maintain flood insurance in Florida. A lot of these people are getting wind insurance, but they're not getting flood insurance. So what the story was how the insurance companies are all going to be attacking this from you suffered flood damage and therefore you're not covered. Go fuck yourself.
Right.
And it was just these stories of how now it's prohibitively expensive to have flood insurance, and these victims are still complaining about how shocking this is. And I just did a quick search. Hurricane Andrew, 1992, Florida, $25 billion in damage. 2004, Hurricane Charlie, $6.8 billion. 2005, a year later, Hurricane William, $20.6 billion. Then in 2017, Hurricane Irma, $50 billion of damage. These are all just Florida numbers.
Right.
Hurricane Michael in 2018, $25 billion. I know that, then we hit the pandemic and the hurricanes took a little break. But we're back. The pandemic is over. The hurricanes are coming back raring to go. If you're living in Florida, I don't care where in Florida you're living, you are a target for hurricanes. Do not act surprised when they come at you.
All right, fair enough. I mean, you raise a valid point. It's if you're living on the shore, you got to deal with the issues that come along with that.
Ron?
Yes.
What's bothering you?
This week, we're getting into that home stretch leading up to Election Day in just a few weeks, to the point that you're just completely inundated with political ads, whether on the TV, the radio, billboards, whatever, and it's just annoying as hell in general. But I think I saw one of the dumber billboards, and it was one of the bigger races in Pennsylvania is John Fetterman versus Dr. Oz for the Senate seat. I think many people have already conceded the governor's race. Like Doug Mastriano is just too much of a liability, so they're not really even trying to help him at this point. But I think people are still holding out hope for the Senate. And so I was driving in central PA, Pennsylvania, as we affectionately refer to it. And it was an ad, it was a billboard against John Fetterman. It said, John Fetterman is too soft on crime. And it was a picture of John Fetterman, and it also had a picture of Bernie Sanders. And I'm thinking to myself, well, Bernie's not a senator in Pennsylvania. I'm like, he's not a running mate. But I guess they're just trying to, they're not even trying. They're just trying to say, hey, here's a picture of Bernie Sanders next to John Fetterman. So if you hate Bernie Sanders, you should hate John Fetterman.
Yes.
And the crazy thing is, like, when you see
it's going to work. It's going to work.
There's definitely a
within certain
percentage of the population.
Yeah.
But what's also crazy is, the attack as towards John Fetterman, things like John Fetterman wants to decriminalize drugs so people don't spend their entire lives in jail if they have an addiction. John Fetterman is a fan of parole and not letting people die in prison and spend the rest of their lives in jail. John Fetterman doesn't want overcrowding in prisons. Like, these are supposed to be bad things.
But you have to understand that the people that Dr. Oz is trying to ensure show up to the ballots to vote are the people who sit there and say that marijuana is a gateway drug, and if you let people use marijuana and get away with it, they're going to be doing crack and heroin and going out into the suburbs and committing carjackings.
Right.
The people that Dr. Oz wants to go out and vote for him are the people who are going to sit there and say, no, we want lots of people in prisons. We want to create a society where we basically just lock everybody up and throw away the key. Meanwhile, there's going to be some type of utopia, roaming around for the rest of us.
Meanwhile, Dr. Oz was doing a fundraiser out west somewhere the other night. And did you see
I thought it was St. Louis.
Was it St. Louis? It could be.
I thought I saw it was St. Louis with the World War II Museum.
Possibly. That would make more sense as to why the background of where Dr. Oz was presenting had Hitler's car.
Sure.
And I feel like out of all the places you can present yourself, maybe next to Hitler's car, not the best optics.
Ron, I just saw Matt Beaker paying attention, doing the research here. He must have put the crack pipe down. It was at the Leon Air Museum in Southern California. You were correct.
That's what I was going to say. I thought it was West Coast. So, but this is what, again, I understand what you're saying. They are playing to the lowest common denominator. They are. They're trying to scare people into voting for Dr. Oz. But this is what is amazing to me, is you get the right, which prides themselves on how religious they are and how they're great Catholics and whatnot. But isn't part of Christians. Isn't part of
these are most of these Christians they're not even sitting there pretending that the Catholics are good Christians.
But isn't it part of your religion to believe in redemption for people? So
no,
is that gone? Is that out now?
No. Redemption is only for the people that you know and yourself. So when
that's what aggravates me.
So when Herschel Walker is patting himself on the back for being just a good God-fearing man, and then it comes out that a woman steps forward and says, you pushed me to get an abortion years ago, and I have cards that you mailed me thanking me for getting the abortion. I have the check you gave me for that covered the cost of the abortion. First off, $800. He sent her a check for $800. Like, I'm assuming some of that was for some flowers for her to pick up, because that's I don't know. I don't know what state she had her abortion in, but that's pretty expensive. Maybe it was a 2-for-1 deal where he was getting her her next one also included. But he literally sat there and was just like, I don't remember doing that. That's not something I would do. But if I did do it, I don't remember it.
If I did do it, you may have a check with my signature on it and my bank account, but clearly it was the devil.
There's just absolutely, the redemption is for me. For me,
well, and that was going to be my point.
For those I care about, it's not for the others.
Right.
The
and that's
others
what's
need to be punished.
amazing to
I
me.
should get away with it. Yes. A perfect example, it was that Rush Limbaugh horseshit. When Rush Limbaugh stepped forward, he was starting to get into problems. Then he stood up and said, "Oh, I have an opioid problem. I need to go to rehab." Meanwhile, this is a man who spent his entire career literally attacking small-time marijuana users, that these people were ruining society, and absolutely nobody held him accountable towards his drug addiction. In fact, he had the Orange Man give him the Presidential Medal of Honor.
True.
Because he somehow deserved it.
And this is what's amazing to me, is you're going to be upset that, you've got a candidate that worked to help rehabilitate people in prison and get them out and hopefully start a productive life in society, and they're going to be upset about that. But then when they get caught committing a crime, when they get caught paying for an abortion, when they get caught at the Capitol on January 6th, well, then they want forgiveness at that point.
That's how you know that the right now is just completely full of bullshit, because they want to enact these draconian laws, but only so that they can enforce them on others. They do not believe that these laws should be held, that these standards of behavior should be applied to them. They're pushing these laws so that the others can be forced to obey them.
Well, you know what isn't bullshit, Brian?
What?
Our locks of the week.
Locks.
Brian, kudos, as always, to you. Looking back at last week, one too many weeks. You had San Francisco -3.5 versus Carolina. Wasn't even that close. San Fran wins 37-15. And again, you rode the Jets train for yet another week. Jets were +5.5 versus Miami. You said, do not count out this scrappy New York Jets team. Jets wing big, 40-17, keeping you perfect, 10-0 on the season. How the hell do you do it?
I'll tell you exactly how I do it, Ron. I am being held to a standard. And that standard is I have to figure out a way to beat you this season. We made a wager, one testicle, to be extracted by a medical professional and delivered to the winner of our Locks of the Week contest this year. I do not want to lose the testicle.
No.
So therefore,
No,
I feel I need to at least stay at the same pace as you. You continue to just barrel through another week of 2-0. Eagles laying 4 at the Cardinals this week. You saw that line and you said, listen, Eagles are going to be 6-0, but they're not covering 4. You threaded the needle. Eagles win 20-17, only winning by 3, not covering the 4-point line. You also said Bills -13 versus the Steelers. You watched the Steelers play 2 weeks ago. You're from Pennsylvania. You know exactly what Pennsylvania football is all about. What do the Bills do? They win 38-3. Again, Ron, 2-0, 10-0 for the season. How does it feel to know that you're probably going to end this season with 2 testicles intact in place?
Listen, any day that you can end with the same number of testicles that you started the day is a good one. And I think that's really been our motto since college.
I absolutely agree with you on that. That
Right?
makes sense to me. Yes.
Who are your picks for this week?
Oh, this week, I've got the Browns -3 over the Patriots. I think the Belichick magic is starting to glisten away. I also saw Packers lost today against the Giants.
Yep.
Jets win big. I think that but next week, Packers laying 7.5 over Jets, all will be righted again. Aaron Rodgers will steam through the New Jersey Jets defense and definitely lay those points.
All right.
Ron?
Next week, yes.
What are your picks?
I like Chicago as a home dog against the Washington Commandos. Chicago +1. Take Chicago plus the points. And then San Francisco steamrolled over Carolina today. They're going to Atlanta next week. They're favored by 6.5. I like San Francisco minus those 6.5 points.
Not bad, Ron. How are you? What are your? We're 5 weeks down. What
Right.
are your thoughts about the football season so far this year?
I mean, it's been a surprising season, especially with the NFC East looking like it could potentially be the toughest division in football this year. You've got the undefeated Eagles going to 5-0 today. You've got the Cowboys beating the Rams to go to 4-1. I believe the Giants are 4-1 or 3-2, one or the other. The only bad team is the Commanders. So they look very dominant. Chiefs have looked weak. Defending champion Rams looked weak. So it's been an interesting season so far, kind of up and down. What's your take on the season so far?
Couldn't care less. All I'm about is the final score of these games. Do I win? Do I lose? That's all that matters.
Fair enough, Brian. So you were talking about the hurricane.
The Jews. No,
You were-
I was talking about the Jews. Kanye West Ron, what's going on with Kanye West and Twitter and the Jews?
Well, apparently Kanye went back on Twitter.
I didn't even know he was banned before, though. I guess what was it? He was bullying Pete Davidson. Was that the issue?
I
And
think it
Kim
was.
Kardashian?
Yeah, I think it was some of his commentary against Pete Davidson and primarily Kim Kardashian, and it was a little bit threatening. So he
got banned.
He gets banned. He gets back onto Twitter yesterday. Elon Musk, who's apparently trying to now go through with the deal to purchase Twitter, welcomes
Team Yeezy.
welcomes him back. And then Kanye makes a tweet saying that he was going to attack Jewish people, but it's okay because black people are Jewish. Or is that
he tweeted that he's about to go DEF CON, not DEF CON. He was going to go DEF CON 3 on Jewish people, and that he's not going to follow their agenda anymore. And don't anybody call him anti-Semitic because blacks are Jews.
Which Rod Carew was. To be fair, Rod Carew, Sammy Davis Jr., both were black men that were Jewish.
I feel like there's one more that we're forgetting.
Probably. Lenny Kravitz.
Harvey Rosenthal.
Yes.
He worked in the Diamond District in the 50s. Big afro, just gigantic afro. I think we've reached. Oh, and also earlier in the week, Kanye West was at a Paris Fashion Week event, I believe. Someone please look that up. Yaphet Kotto, another famous black Jew, and don't forget also Herschel Walker.
Okay.
Just joking. But and he wore a White Lives Matter T-shirt.
He was with Candace Owens too, who she was also wearing a White Lives Matter T-shirt.
Who's Candace Owens?
She's
what's her deal?
I mean, she's basically one of these right-wing pundits. You know, she is. I don't know.
So she's taken the hey, look at me. I'm black, but I'm also a conservative.
Right, exactly. That's her shtick.
I think it's time we all stop paying attention to Kanye West.
You think now is? I think a while back might have been the time, but now definitely. Apparently, he revealed that Sean Combs controlled by the Jews.
Oh, they do. They do have a healthy sway over the entertainment industry.
Well, you took me away from my favorite story of the week because you had talked about the hurricane down in Florida, and apparently there is now drama going on between the wives of the linemen, the electric company linemen that went down to Florida to help restore power, and so-called bucket bunnies. Yep. Brian, you have been deep embedded in this TikTok drama. You are a bucket bunny embed. Please explain to me what the hell is going on with this story.
Okay, so this is the story. This is what we're talking about. The wives of the line workers, the bucket bunnies. Earlier this week it started on TikTok, flew over to Instagram. I have not heard any instances of this war bleeding into Facebook. Probably it's on Twitter, but who knows?
But more
so
TikTok.
This is the deal.
Okay.
It is well known that after natural disasters, that there are first responders that rush into affected areas, especially when the power is out, when there are homes that have no electricity, or thousands of homes and cities that have no electricity, that the electrical workers, or they like to call them line workers, they drive down to the protected areas, to the affected areas, right outside the path of the hurricane, so that they can rush in as soon as the storm passes, so that they can immediately start putting those electrical lines up and can start restoring these homes with power. Now, One of the things about this line of work, I'm not sure you're aware of this, it's predominantly male.
Yes, that I was aware
And
of.
you're talking about these are, days of work, weeks of work, sometimes months of work that these guys are going to be out there putting up electrical lines. They're not going to be back home with their families. So what happens to some men when they're away from their families for weeks or months at a time?
They tend to stray a little bit, Brian.
According to social media, one of the things that they do is they start downloading dating apps to meet local women. And sometimes local women, especially those who have no power but are eager to have their power restored, are going to seek out some of those linemen to try and get them, to entice them to somehow start bringing back electricity to that street, so that these women have electricity in their homes. These women are known as bucket bunnies. So earlier this week, I believe it started on TikTok. It started spreading, but a woman started a video that's basically said, "Women, if you're in Florida, now is the time to download these apps because there are a lot of men that are looking for dates in the area, and they're blue collar men. And if you're into a blue collar man like I am, now's the time to start dating in Florida." So immediately, this video starts to spread. Now I'm guessing it did because she probably was right. There probably were a lot of men on these dating apps and whatnot. So then suddenly, as the video spread, it was obviously viewed by the wives of some of these electrical workers. I don't know what hashtags were being used. I don't know. I never look at hashtags on any post anymore. It's just, how something lands on my algorithm is less interesting to me than just the fact that it is.
Right.
And your algorithm can thank me for that. So out of nowhere, we get this back and forth stream of videos of women talking about, of bucket bunnies talking about how they can't wait to get their hands on these linesmen and, give them a nice warm home and a good home cooked meal, while they're out there working these 14, 15-hour days. Then they're being stitched by these, women at home in Wisconsin who are like, "Hey, I'm a linesman wife, and no bucket bunny is going to get her hands on my man. Don't forget, you're a home wrecker. He's got a good wife at home and kids, and the reason he's down there is to provide for his family, not to get his DW'd, in Florida." And it just got, it literally suddenly, I mean, what I love about the social media algorithms is that, once something gets a little bit of attention, it just immediately gets amplified.
It just rolls.
It's literally, and it's very short lived. If you're off of social media for like 3 or 4 days, you can miss an entire wave of attention. So there's a war going on between these two groups of women fighting each other over something that they don't even know whether is absolutely happening or not, which is the part that I love the most. Because these women that are fighting, they don't even know if their husband's cheating on them or not. They know their husband's down there working long hours to put up electrical wire, and they're just like, "You get your hands off my man." And a lot of them are talking like that. Some of them are missing teeth. A lot of them look like they've had several kids, and they never managed to lose the baby weight the second or third time around. Just saying. And then you got these Florida housewives who are, who have had a lot of plastic surgery.
So it sounds like quite the cast of characters.
What I'm saying, Ron, is that when I'm on the bowl at work and I'm sifting through Instagram and I see a linesman's wife sitting there doing some kind of like talking to her phone and getting angry and screaming at it, I'm turning up the volume a little bit, making sure nobody else is in one of the other stalls. I'm going to watch that video for fun.
All right. Well, Brian, you are one of the few people in the country, it seems, that still physically has to go to work to then have a toilet to go watch your TikTok in. Because remote work is all the rage, Brian. But now apparently there is an MIT assistant professor saying that remote work could cost Americans their jobs within the next decade. Thoughts on this?
I thought it was a very interesting article, and what his the theory that he put forth is that right now you have a lot of Americans who are working remotely that are arguing, listen, I don't need to physically come to work. There really is no such thing as company culture that is somehow benefiting me. I'm able to get all my work done remotely. I don't need to be in work. All meetings don't need to be in person. We can use Zoom, Microsoft Teams, to have these collaborative conversations. And what this MIT professor,
Assistant professor,
what he put forth is this argument is that based on economic conditions, if this maintains this style of remote work or a hybrid system, and you are living in a capitalistic society, it is only a matter of time before companies realize that if they are paying for a American to work remotely, then for pennies on the dollar, they can hire somebody in a overseas country to do the same job with the same skill set. That suddenly, if you're not going into the office and you're not physically involved in the workplace, then what is stopping or what are you offering that is different than something that somebody in Malaysia who has the same skill set? Like, take yourself, for instance. Ryan mentioned at the top of the show, you go to work maybe 2 or 3 times a week.
right?
Well, I can guarantee you that there's somebody in Thailand right now who knows how to fake a pro forma, who completely grasps the idea of sitting there saying, oh, wait a second, if I put these numbers in this order, it looks like we're going to lose money in years 5, 7, 8, and 12. However, if I take this negative number and I turn it into a positive, we're going to be profitable after year 4 all the way through year 25 when we have our exit strategy.
Brian,
Now, they may not be using English words to come up with that. They may be speaking Thai. Jack talk Thai real good, Ron. But what this guy is saying is that at some point, they're going to realize that they do not need to be paying an American $14.50 to be putting together a pro forma like your bosses are doing right now. They realize that they can have somebody in Myanmar do it for literally 35 cents an hour.
But hasn't that been the case for a while now? I mean, there's always been opportunities to outsource to other countries for a lot of this work. I mean, I don't know that working remotely has necessarily opened companies' eyes to this possibility.
It will eventually.
All right.
Ron, next time you don't get your Walmart order, pick up the phone and give them a call. What country are you talking to at that point? Next time your Wells Fargo card gets used fraudulently at a Wawa while someone's getting a hoagie and some water, and you have to sit there and call Wells Fargo to complain about it. What are the odds that you're speaking to somebody in America at that point? Now, frankly, I don't have a problem with it. If your skill set can be outsourced overseas, then you need to pivot. I mean, Ivanka Trump taught that to all of us in the summer of 2020.
What was interesting from this article was it talked about a fast food chain in Toronto called Freshie that apparently has already started to outsource cashier jobs to workers in other countries. A customer apparently said that they were paying for their meal at a Toronto location. Instead of going to a live cashier at a checkout counter, they had to go to this tablet-sized screen, which then had a woman on the screen who was working as a virtual cashier in Nicaragua. So it's interesting that that's a position you would think you'd want to have someone physically, but I guess maybe that's a way to, if you don't have enough employees or you're having hiring issues, that's another way to work around having someone physically there to ring somebody out.
All joking aside, Ron, that could work in Canada. No offense.
That
could work in Canada. I can guarantee you that in New York, in Philadelphia, in North Philly, if you go into a bodega And instead of there being a live person to charge you for your Philly blunt wraps and your what do they eat over there? Your hoagies.
Hoagies, you
You get a
water ice.
tablet. You're staring at an iPad, and someone talking from a different country telling you that you owe $4.93. If that's North Philly, if that's Brooklyn, if that's the Bronx, you're gonna rip that tablet out the wall, and you're gonna stroll out with your free sandwich and blunt wraps. I mean, there's no way in this country, in 90% of this country, there's no way that you walk into a store that's being manned by an iPad and you're going to properly pay wave to somebody who's sitting in Nicaragua to ensure that you made proper payment.
A bigger question is, when will I eventually break down and outsource your 49% to another country? Because clearly we're doing this remotely. So, I could connect with someone. Like, it is...
You would never outsource me.
I believe it's daytime in Myanmar, like right now. I believe that with the time difference, it's actually Monday morning in Myanmar. As you, for whatever reason, picked that country out of a hat to talk about.
Ron, I can't wait for this Super Bowl. We are at week 5. We are at week 5 of the NFL season. And people, if you're watching, if you're listening right now, I want you to understand something. First Sunday in February, Super Bowl 62.
We are 18 weeks away from the Super Bowl as of tonight.
Are we literally 18 weeks?
18 weeks, my friend.
The Ron and Preety podcast. That's bullshit, Billy. That's fucking bullshit. The Ron and Preety podcast. God damn it. Bodega. Bodega. Anyway, but I just think the fact that, you feel so confident to rub this 51% in my face. What's to say that the first Tuesday of February, I'm not going to sit there and say, hey, hold on a second. I'm going to reach out to North Korea, and it's going to be the Kim Jong-un and Brian podcast.
I mean, I'd listen to that, personally. I wouldn't even be mad about it.
I would actually forget sometimes that I'm doing the show, and I would just turn my head, and I would listen to the YouTube feed.
Brian, on to our next story. We're dog lovers here, right, Brian?
God damn, do I love dogs.
So this innocent-looking Bichon Frise, apparently, according to the Daily Mirror, which never prints inaccurate stories.
The Daily Mirror it's basically as accurate as the Bible. I mean, it's one of the things that makes me feel very confident.
So this Bichon Frise is owned by Thomas Barnes in the Raleigh, North Carolina area, and apparently accidentally ordered $70 worth of porn from its owner's Direct TV from the Hustler channel back in 2019. The Barnes said that Marino, the dog, hopped up onto his bed and inadvertently hit the wrong button with one of its paws.
Okay. Are you ready to just unwrap this story?
I'm totally ready.
Ron, this is one of the stories that you put on the Google Doc earlier this week, and I immediately my brain just went into like so many different directions. First off, we know that this man ordered the porn right off the bat. There's no way his dog ordered porn. Next, what are the odds that his wife found the charge on the bill?
I don't believe he's married. I think he is. This may shock you. He might be a single man ordering $70 worth of porn from the Hustler channel.
So what you're saying that he's debating it because as a single man with a Bichon Frise,
yeah, and living on disability.
There's no way that he would order porn from the Hustler channel. He would order it from like the Honcho channel.
Well, I'm just saying
there's anything wrong with gay porn.
I was more saying that he didn't have to hide the charge from a wife because there is no wife there.
Okay. Yeah, but then if he's on disability, he had to use the dog to get the $70 back.
Well, interestingly enough, he had called DirecTV and to dispute the charge, and DirecTV said that they would. This is actually going back to 2019. DirecTV apparently said that the charge would be reversed. He gets a bill. He doesn't pay it. He disputes the $70, and his service ends up getting shut off in return because he doesn't pay this $70 charge. And he eventually takes it to the FCC, who after a number of years finally managed to get Barnes credited the $70 and get his DirecTV service turned back on.
Wow.
So apparently
Okay,
DirecTV did not buy the dog story.
Nobody bought the dog story. I'm not buying it either. What kind of porn? What porn do you think that dog ordered? I mean, obviously, do you think it was doggy style 14?
I mean, I feel that's too easy.
You think I just went for low hanging fruit on that one?
Well, no, I think the dog. Personally, I think the dog likes stepmom porn. I don't know why I feel that, but I just feel. Also, 2019. Why would you pay $70? Why would you pay? I mean, again, why would you pay $5 for porn when the internet exists? But why would you pay $70 for porn? Like, what could be on the Hustler channel that is so good? Like, Raleigh, North Carolina, you can probably have gone online and paid $50 to have someone come over and have actual sex with you.
Sure.
So why $70 for the Hustler channel?
Some people prefer pornography over prostitution.
Okay.
There's some people have intimacy problems.
Listen, I get it. We don't kink shame around here, but it's just it seems implausible to me.
Well, there's no. I mean, think about it. So his dog is clicking on purchasing porn. First off, it's never one button. I mean, they do have fail safes in the system.
Oh, without a doubt.
So that you have to click the channel, then you have to click the next button to buy. It's never just one.
And then you have
button.
to confirm, like, are you sure that you want to purchase this $70 worth of pornography?
But it's never. But I mean, it's also you have to also that's multiple purchases. There's no one. I mean,
maybe he bought a subscription to the Hustler channel. Maybe the dog accidentally purchased a 1-year subscription to the Hustler channel because at $70 it was cheaper than going month by month.
Hold up, I'm looking for a Hustler monthly live stream is. Hold on, I'm gonna order this to the ladies' internet. No. It doesn't even tell you how much it is. How much does it cost? Become a member of the Internet Hustler Challenge. Nope, that's YouTube. I gave up. I'm not looking at this anymore. Anyway, so my point being, Ron, is just there's no way that was just a dog hitting one button on a remote. Yeah. Absolutely no way.
And as Janelle points out, dogs don't even have thumbs. Which, I mean, I guess the dog technically could step on it. I don't know if a thumb's required, but I get it. I get what she's trying to say. Next story, Brian. What else do we have here today? Oh, Brian, quick question. And I guess maybe this is a little different. I'm going to ask you, what are you watching or what are you attending?
Okay, see, I did not watch a lot of TV this week. I basically only watched what did I watch? I watched The Patient this week, and there's 2 shows I'm watching. I'm watching The Patient. I'm watching House of Dragons.
Right.
And I also started Dahmer. I'm halfway through the second episode of Dahmer.
And what do you think of Dahmer so far?
I'm liking it. I somehow thought in the beginning it was going to be a documentary.
Okay.
I thought it was going to be a documentary, but instead it's a drama.
Correct.
Or they call these docuseries.
Yes.
So I watched the first episode of that. But more importantly, Ron, is that this week I went out and supported live entertainment.
Nice.
One of the things that Papa Fauci said to me very recently, and it was when he in a not a phone call directly to me, but a press conference. The pandemic is over. It's we're safe to go outside. Right. We're safe to interact in mass gatherings and whatnot. So this week on Wednesday, is it Wednesday or was it Thursday? Wednesday, I went to go see the Pixies,
Oh,
famed alt rockers
yes.
from the early 1990s. In fact, actually, they got popular late 80s. They played Terminal 5 here in Manhattan. Not my favorite Pixies concert. This is the first time I actually felt that they were not as well rehearsed as they had been in previous times I saw them. There were times where it kind of felt like the guitars were being played a little off tempo. I felt there were a couple drum beats that were off. Not as tight as they used to be, but always great. They go up there, they knock out 30 songs, just nonstop. What I like about the Pixies, zero crowd interaction.
Really?
Absolutely. And there's something about, that little masochistic side in me, which is just like, absolutely, don't acknowledge me. Let's just do your thing.
Right.
I'm just here for the ride. They got up there, they did their set, had a great time. Next one was Thursday. I went to go see L7,
Oh,
all female grunge rockers. They were playing Irving Plaza. First time I had been to Irving Plaza since they had renovated it. Famed New York venue. Loved the venue. Enjoyed
right.
L7. This was the first time I'd ever seen them. Then yesterday, took the lady over to Radio City, famed New York venue.
Yes.
It been in existence since 1906. Has seen everything from FDR to Adolf Hitler to Joe Louis, all holding events there. And now Chris Rock. Saw Chris Rock doing his set, his new hour. But I got to tell you, he did almost 2 hours. Started off opener.
Nice.
Rick Ingraham from Los Angeles did basically a set of crowd work. Solid. Then Chris Rock gets up there. This was one of those comedy shows where they collect your phones in the Yonder case. If you're going to ask, hey, Brian, did you try to sneak your phone through without putting it in a case? Yes, I did. Next question, did it work? No, it didn't. I decided that I was going to bring my work phone also in addition to my personal phone, and was going to put the work phone in the Yonder case while keeping my personal phone in my jacket pocket. But Jesus Christ, was security tight here. They took the work phone in the Yonder case, locked it up. Then the next step was security, where they literally had me take off my jacket, empty my pockets. And as the guy was feeling up my jacket, was just like, hey, dude, what's this? And I was like, oh, I forgot I had my other phone there.
Yeah.
I got busted. Chris Rock, he got up there. I would say he did about 2 hours.
Okay.
It reached a point where it was just like, holy shit, is he going to be doing material forever? And at the same time, it felt like his second hour was better than the first, as if he was getting more warmed up. Some of the topics he covered, I know you had asked me to record some of the shows so that you could hear some of the bits.
Yeah.
I couldn't. It was all my phones were taken.
Right.
He talked about what it is like dating now. Since the last time I saw him, he had gotten a divorce.
True.
He had said he had been in a long-term relationship, and now he's just out there trying to date now. Difficulties that he's facing. His daughters are no longer youngins anymore. So he was talking about what it's like having a daughter who's college now, whatnot. Did a really good bit about society's zeal for being a victim. How everybody wants to be a victim now. Obviously he touched upon the altercation he had with Will Smith
Of course.
at this year's Oscars, which I thought was great. He had a line, and I don't believe he trademarked this yet. He had a line. He was just basically like, people keep asking, did it hurt? Did it hurt? He was just like, yeah, it hurt. He was like, that man trained to be a Muhammad Ali for a movie. He's like, I played Pookie in New Jack City. He's like, yeah, it hurt. Yeah, it hurt to get hit by that guy. But he also was just like, I'm not a victim. He's like, I wasn't, I did not seize that, I didn't seize that moment and sit there and turn it about like, oh, poor is me. He said, I woke up the next morning and went to work. He's like, that's what I do. And then he had a really good bit about Meghan Markle, as part of that whole victimness. He's like, she married into the royal family. It was like, these are like, this is a family that created colonialism.
Right.
Their whole goal was to sit there and say, how can we go out there and seek out foreign lands and enslave these people? And he was like, these people are like the original racists. He's like, and she thought she was going to come into this family and just be embraced with open arms. He goes, and at the same point, he's like, what is she complaining about? He's like, she is married to a prince. He left the family, but like, he's still Prince Harry. She was a no-name actress in Hollywood.
Right.
Why is she positioning herself as a victim? Really entertaining, solid. But
Good.
Enough about me, Ron.
Yes.
What are you watching?
So I caught a few movies this week. I watched the new Hellraiser remake on Hulu. Very boring, not good. Don't recommend it. Saw a new movie with Mila Kunis on Netflix called Luckiest Girl Alive. It's a story about a woman living in New York City who has her past where she was involved in a school shooting, come back due to a documentary that's being filmed, and you see how she's kind of like how she changed her life since the school shooting, and how it kind of threatens to ruin her life. Actually, really good.
Really?
I did not think I was going to enjoy it as much as I did. A good story and a good message as well. I mean, I shouldn't say a good message, but a meaningful, thoughtful message in the movie. And then I also saw Nope, which was Jordan Peele's latest movie that came out back in July. I watched that. It is good. It is not at all what you were going to expect. But it is well done. It is interesting.
Can you walk me through what it is?
It is basically an alien invasion movie with a twist, I guess is the best way to put it.
Is the twist that the aliens don't like water?
That is not the twist. This is a much more.
I think we all remember M. Night Shyamalan's
Yes.
Signs. Was it Signs?
Signs,
Which
yes.
literally one of the best first halves of a modern alien movie.
Right.
Really was just scary to a certain extent until he realized that the way the humans were going to defeat the aliens was that the aliens were afraid of water.
Yeah. I would say Nope is the first half. It's a slow build, and you get little teases as to what exactly is going on, and then the second half of the movie, like once it really kicks into gear, and like when you understand what really is going on, it kind of messes with your head a little bit. But it's I don't want to ruin the twist because it's an interesting take on the genre. Like Do you
recommend I watch it?
I would recommend you watch it. I don't know if I had paid money to see it in the theaters. I don't know if I would have liked it as much. But sitting at home watching it, I enjoyed it.
I'm going to add it right now to things to watch.
All right, add it, please do. What else do we have on the list, Brian? Kevin Spacey finally going to court.
You loved it.
For his sexual assault trial. Now, which trial is this? Because I know there was one of his accusers that died or committed suicide. Am I remembering that correctly?
Yes, there was somebody that did commit suicide.
But this is separate. This is the original case, I believe, which was brought forth by Anthony Rapp, who accused Kevin Spacey of assaulting him when he was 14 and Spacey was 26.
Jesus.
So this is going back a ways. This is going back about 35 plus years now. Rapp said that he and Spacey first met in 1986 when they were both performing on Broadway. And then one night, Spacey invited him to a party at his apartment, at the end of which Spacey picked him up, placed him on his bed, and climbed on top of him.
Now, that's the same way you and I met, correct?
It is, yes. But there was a lot more consent in our situation. Now, what was interesting is back
Well,
in
when you're describing what Kevin Spacey did, there was no consent there. So
no.
the very fact that eventually I just, stopped crying and just closed my eyes and just went to my happy place. I mean, that doesn't mean that there was a lot more consent there.
So going back to the Kevin Spacey story, back in 2017 when Anthony Rapp made these initial accusations, Spacey didn't deny it, just said that he didn't remember it and apologized, quote, for what would have been deeply inappropriate drunken behavior. So you have to feel that's not going to play well in a court of law.
Ron, do you know how many times I've had to apologize for deeply inappropriate and drunk behavior?
I've not known you to be a man who apologizes. I find you to be a man who learns and accepts and moves forward.
Teachable moment.
Teachable moment, yes. Is that all we're doing for the Spacey story?
Listen, I just think it seems like I always take the approach with these stories of these sexual predators and whatnot, where I don't know that any one individual story is true. I can't say that this kid's not making up this story, but I am a man who believes in the law of averages. And once one person steps up and says Kevin Spacey sexually assaulted me, and I'm going to be like, maybe, I don't know, I wasn't there. But when 7 people step up and say, hey, man, this guy's made an entire career out of sexually assaulting those who are vulnerable and, trying to make a acting career and using his, hey, I'm a big Hollywood producer, actor, director, juggernaut. And if you, let me jerk you off on this bed, I will, I'll throw a roll your way. Eventually, I just start leaning towards the side of like, this one individual story may be true, but at least some of these stories have to be true. I mean, I felt that way with Bill Cosby, Harvey Weinstein, Woody Allen, Ron Bailey. I mean, just a juggernaut of entertainers with more than 51% ownership in their production companies, just abusing their power for to feed their sexual proclivities.
But don't you think the fact that Kevin Spacey didn't deny it and apologized tends to give some credence to the story?
Listen, there was nobody else in that room. There was probably no video cameras or audio cassette, recording. He could have denied it. The fact that he said, "I don't know that I did it," implies to me that he probably did do it. I can't say for sure. I'm glad that I'm not on that jury because innocent until proven guilty. How can they prove he's guilty on this one?
All right. A man who will not get a chance to be proven innocent or guilty is a man by the name of Adam Howe. He was charged last week with allegedly murdering his mother on the left there, then setting her body on fire in front of her $900,000 Cape Cod home. Don't know why the New York Post put the value of the home in the story, but he was arrested.
New York Post is all about real estate value.
He was arrested on Friday and then choked to death on wet toilet paper in his jail cell over the weekend. He was rushed to St. Luke's Hospital in New Bedford, where he was pronounced dead on Sunday.
So he burns his mother to death.
Well, he murdered her. They said the fire was set post-mortem. So he kills his mother, sets the body on fire, and then apparently jammed wet toilet paper down his throat to clog his airway in a suicide attempt, which obviously ended up proving to be successful.
Listen, first off, he was probably upset that his mother made him have a child with him. Because, I mean, that's a lovely family photo right there. Father, mother, and the baby. Unfortunately, I don't know what happened to the baby during the childbirth, why the face is so distorted. I would say that they have a malpractice case on their hands. Whoever delivered that baby, obviously just destroyed all facial features. You're going to let me just keep going with this, or
I mean,
I
I feel like you're just off the rails in general this evening, so I'm just
no,
going
not at
to
all.
let you.
I will say this. I mean, if you get arrested,
Right.
you're in a jail cell. Clearly, like you're not under 24-hour surveillance. The wet toilet paper, it's a genius idea to kill yourself.
But he was given a psychiatric evaluation. He was cleared to return to custody. He was put on security watch. He was clothed in a rip-resistant nylon smock for his own safety, and they were doing visual checks on him every 15 minutes.
Yeah, but that's still 14 minutes that he has between
exactly.
visits to figure out how to do it. I mean, the real question is, where was Hillary?
Well, that is usually the question for any fatality.
Because we do know Hillary loves to kill people when they're in jail.
Yes, she does. I don't know if that's the instance here, though.
Sure.
Well, you never know. You never know. Any other stories we want to cover before we wrap up here?
Hold on. We had a slew of stuff. There was not. I think we saved the Ohio man with the stepdaughter for after. Why don't you talk about After Dark, and then we'll close it out.
So After Dark, obviously, that is something that we reserve for our Patreon subscribers. Which, if you go to ronandbrianpodcast.com, click on the link in the upper right to become a patron. Join at the bronze level or aluminum level or higher, and you can join us live at 9:30 for some of the saucier stories. Normally, something like the Bucket Bunnies we'd save for After Dark, but it was such a fascinating story, we had to share it here on the podcast. So we have some of your sexier, some of your more out there, a lot of OnlyFans content we will cover on After Dark. But I will tell you, everyone that has subscribed, we've got an 88.34% retention rate on our Patreon subscriptions. And we pride ourselves on that because of the extra value we give to everyone that tunes in every Sunday at 9:30.
Well, I think a lot of the reason why we have such a high retention rate is the fact that people were reaching out to us when we first started doing the podcast of, you're giving us a free hour of entertainment week in, week out, except when Brian's Wi-Fi at the Marriott in Cannery Wharf is not doing well. How can we say thank you? How can we help you continue to put out this incredible product? And one of the things Ron and I, we don't want to charge for the podcast. One of the things we said when putting this together is that, this is going to be available on the internet. This thing is available for anybody on this planet. It is free for anybody, regardless of what country they're living in. And it was something that we said we do not want to charge for. This is not something that we want to put, aside for the wealthy. We want the poorest person with internet coverage to be able to access and be entertained by us. So we said, how do we help those people who want to help us? And we put together this idea. We're going to put, extra content behind the paywall for just a few dollars a month. You get access to some really great entertainment. And it also, at the same time, helps offset the costs that, Ron and I incur month in, month out, putting this show out. This podcast will always be free.
That's right.
Sometimes we're going to have some ad reads. We're going to have ads to put on. Most importantly, like Manscaped. Ron, there's nothing worse than neglecting to Manscaped during the summer months. The increased heat and humidity will play havoc with your crotch area, and you don't want to turn off any potential lady suitors with an unkempt pubic area. And when manscaping, Ron, we have the right tools to help you with the kind folks over at Manscaped. Manscaped was kind enough to say, are you really going to let me keep reading?
I'm always amazed at how far you will take some of this. So Ron, this is one of those nights that I'm just going to let you go. But no,
Manscaped was kind enough to send us their Perfect Package 4.0, which includes their new and improved Lawnmower 4.0.
But this time's gotta stop.
All right. Well, we do love our fans, our friends over at Manscaped. I did buy their new body wash and a little scrubber, so I can give Manscaped some props this week.
So you're scrubbing with Manscaped products now?
I am, yes. I find I'm
sorry, man.
cleaner and happier than I've ever been before, Brian.
Okay.
All right, well let's wrap this up. Let's go get ready for After Dark. Anything additional you'd like to bring to the table before we close things out here tonight?
No, we've done an hour at 10, and I look forward to this hour every week. This is something that has absolutely changed my whole perspective on Sundays. And I don't know if you feel the same, but Sundays I used to dread. I used to get the Sunday scaries. I used to spend my Sunday, evenings, just basically, not looking forward to the start of the workday. I would feel anxiety over work tasks that I needed to work on. The fact that we do this show on Sunday nights and, we do them, consistently on Sundays, it absolutely has made my Sundays, my weekends, just be that much nicer.
There you go. I would agree with you on that. It makes the end of the weekend a little bit less sad to know that we have the podcast here. Also, Padres still up 4-0, top of the seventh. Runners on second and third with no outs. Mets 9 outs away from their season being over. Padres look like they're going to add some runs in the top of the seventh, but we'll talk about that as well on After Dark. Brian,
Sure.
Final thoughts.
Love you, buddy.
All right.
And I genuinely love and appreciate everybody that is watching live, and as those who are going to be streaming after the fact or listening to the audio version of this podcast.
All right. Yes, thanks to everybody tuning in. Thanks to our Patreon subscribers. We will see you in about 18 minutes. Everyone else, we will see you next week. Thanks again for joining us on the Ron and Brian podcast.
But this time's gotta stop.
Wrong one.
Thank you for joining us on the Ron and Brian podcast. We're live each week on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. You can find prior episodes, links to our social media, and everything else Ron and Brian at ronandbrianpodcast.com.